Everyone laughed when I said I was really excited about growing butt hair. In the month or so between my first appointment and starting testosterone, it was the joke I told every cis person who asked. They must have thought it was a diversion, a way to avoid my actual transition goals and move on to greener pastures. To a certain extent it was. After all, who wants to talk to cis people about weight distribution and bottom growth? It was also far more honest than they realised. I love my butt hair, and I don't care who knows it. It's funny looking back on my first attempt at talking to a doctor about HRT now, 6 months of testosterone and with a constellation of gender euphoria sprouting up on my legs. There were so many things I was unsure about. I wasn't sure how much I'd like facial or body hair. Wasn't sure how I felt about bottom growth. I was terrified of male pattern baldness. But what I did know was that the vocal changes and the weight redistribution would alleviate my dysphoria. So I made an appointment. And then I cancelled it. The problem with that first attempt was that I made it before I cut contact with my parents. I was so afraid of their reaction and of the inevitability of coming out to them that I couldn't go through with even that first conversation. I knew that my parents viewed my body as property, as a project, a house they were trying to flip. Telling them that I was taking charge of it and changing it in such an enormous way felt impossible. Even from 6 hours away, they had a stranglehold on how I viewed myself. I knew I couldn't both transition and try to be a child that they could love. A few years changed the landscape of my need to transition more than I could have dreamed. By the time I reached out to folks last year, I'd cut contact with my parents and I was no longer unsure about any of the changes that would come with starting T. I was excited about bottom growth. I was curious about what I looked like with a beard. And I was really excited about butt hair. I'm now 6 months on HRT and it wasn't a joke, even though I played it off as one. The butt hair is freaking amazing! I never expected body hair to be the part of transitioning that consistently gives me gender euphoria, but running my hand down my legs is one of the best sensations I have in a day. Where once there were fine, downy hairs, visible only in errant patches of sunlight, there's now a fresh crop of dark, thick hairs sprouting up on my thighs. My calves and shins are covered in a way never before possible. I also have hair on my belly coming in thick, dark and lovely. Looking down at it when I'm in the shower makes me happy every single day without exception. I love the way the hair on my belly meets my pubic hair and then meets the hair on my thighs. I love that where once there were random patches, there's now this continuity that becomes more pronounced every day. And yes, I have butt hair. I can't see it thanks to a dysphoria mirror avoidance situation in my apartment, but I can feel it and I love it more than anything. My ass is fuzzy now, and while petting one's own ass is probably weird as hell, I have to admit, I am guilty of it. There's just something comforting about feeling that patch of hair and knowing that my body is changing in a way that feels welcoming and warm. So does growing more eyebrows. Look, I know it sounds stupid, but I did not make it out of the 90s sperm eyebrow craze unscathed, and finally getting my brows back after years of leaving them the hell alone and trying to tease growth out of them is a freaking godsend. It's the only change I've noticed on my face so far, and I could not be more delighted. The hair on my head is thicker and darker too. Running my hand through it now feels so different than it did 6 months ago. I love that every part of me is changing, even the things I never considered. I'm in a different body than I was 6 months ago, and I'm so grateful and relieved for every inch of it. From the rat moustache that I shave every morning to the hair on my ass. Now that I'm here, the changes that I feared when initially considering HRT have become the things I love most about myself. I feel like I'm becoming the person I was meant to be, little by little, one shot at a time. I still have bad days where I feel trapped in my body, but for the most part, I feel like I belong in it, like my body and I are part of the same being. I knew that transitioning was supposed to make me feel better, was supposed to do more than just shift my body away from something I couldn't tolerate. I never expected to feel so whole as I do now. I never thought a little butt hair could do so much.